Take a moment to reflect on the idea that the key to unlocking miracles in your everyday life is right at your fingertips. Joseph Murphy, a pioneer in psychology and spirituality, encourages you to access the vast potential within your own consciousness. This isn't just a mere text, it's a gateway to understanding how your thoughts shape your reality. With Joseph Murphy's profound wisdom, you'll learn to channel your thoughts towards manifesting your deepest desires. The mind is a mysterious powerhouse, capable of shaping and reshaping reality. In these pages, you'll discover how cultivating the right mindset can spark incredible transformations in your life. From healing to abundance, from inner peace to achieving your highest aspirations, Joseph Murphy's teachings will guide you towards authentic personal fulfillment. Get ready to embark on a journey where words lead to deeper self-awareness. This text isn't just a story, it's an opportunity to ignite a flame within yourself, to craft your own narrative. So, open your mind, let Joseph Murphy's words envelop you, and witness firsthand the miracles your mind can create. Chapter 1. How your own mind works. Man possesses one mind, but it has two distinct phases or functions of that single mind. Each phase is characterized by its own peculiar phenomena. Each of these minds is capable of independent action as well as synchronized action. We call one the objective mind because it deals with external things, and the other, the subjective mind. The subjective mind is susceptible and controlled by suggestion from the objective or conscious mind. The objective mind takes cognizance of the objective world. The means of observation are the 5 physical senses. The objective mind is your guide in contact with the environment. We gain knowledge through the 5 senses. The objective mind learns through observation, experience, and education. The most important function of the conscious mind is reasoning. Look around you, observe Los Angeles. You conclude that it is a beautiful city based on your observation of parks, buildings, beautiful architecture, gorgeous flower gardens, etc. This is the functioning of your conscious or objective mind. The word objective means that it deals with objective things. The subjective mind takes cognizance of its environment by means independent of the 5 physical senses. The subjective mind or the subconscious mind uses either term. It perceives by intuition. The subconscious mind is the seat of your emotions. We know without a shadow of doubt that it functions at its highest when the objective senses are suspended. It is the intelligence that manifests when the conscious mind is suspended or in a state of drowsiness or sleep. The subconscious mind sees without using the eyes. It has the ability of clairvoyance and clairaudience. The subconscious mind can leave the body, travel to distant lands, and bring back information often of a precision and truthfulness characteristic. Through the subconscious mind, the thoughts of others can be read, even in their minutest details. The contents of sealed envelopes and locked safes can be read. The subconscious mind has the ability to learn the thoughts of others without using the ordinary and objective means of communication. It is therefore of the utmost importance that we understand the interaction of the conscious and subconscious mind to learn the true art of prayer. There are many terms used to describe the objective and subjective mind. They are called, as we have already said, the conscious or subconscious mind, the awake or asleep mind, the superficial or deep self, the voluntary or involuntary mind, the masculine and feminine, and many other terms. Remember that there is only one mind that has 2 phases or functions. The subjective mind is always susceptible to suggestion. It is controlled by suggestion. We must recognize that the subconscious mind accepts all suggestions. It does not argue with you, but fulfills your desires. Everything that happens to you is based on the thoughts impressed upon your subconscious mind through belief. The subconscious mind will accept your beliefs and convictions. It is like the earth accepting any seed you deposit in it, whether good or bad. Remember that anything you accept as true and believe will be accepted by your subconscious mind and will manifest in your life as a condition, experience, or event. Ideas are conveyed to the subconscious mind through feelings. We will use an illustration. The conscious mind is like the navigator or the man on the bridge of a ship. He steers the ship and gives orders to the men in the engine room where all the boilers, measuring instruments, etc. are located. The men in the engine room are unaware, they do not know where they are going. They follow orders. They would sink if the man on the bridge gave wrong or incorrect instructions based on his conclusions with the compass, sextant, or other instruments. The men in the engine room obey him because he is the director. They do not obey the captain, but simply follow orders. The captain is the master of the ship. His orders are executed. In the same way, your conscious mind is the captain, the master of your ship. Your body and all your affairs represent the ship. Your subconscious mind receives the orders you give it based upon your beliefs and suggestions accepted as true. Another simple illustration is as follows. When you repeatedly tell people that you dislike mushrooms, and one day mushrooms are served to you, you feel uncomfortable because your subconscious mind tells you the boss doesn't like mushrooms. This is probably a humorous example for you, but it is an example of the relationship between the conscious and subconscious mind. When a woman says, "I wake up at 3 o'clock and drink coffee at night," every time she drinks it, her subconscious mind elbows her as if to say, "The boss wants you to stay awake tonight." The Egyptians knew that the heart was the subconscious mind, but did not call it that. The Chaldeans and Babylonians called it differently. You can impress your subconscious mind, and it will express what has been impressed upon it. Any idea that is emotional or felt as true will be accepted by your subconscious mind. If you want healing, for example, sit quietly, relax, breathe easily, immobilize your attention, think of the healing power within your subconscious mind. Affirm that the organ of your body is healing now. As you do this, there must be no resentment or bitterness in your heart. You must forgive all. You can repeat this healing process 3 or 4 times a day. Remember that your subconscious mind made the body and can also heal it. People constantly affirm the healing of an organ or part of their body, then 10 or 15 minutes later they say, "Oh, I feel bad. I will never heal. I am incurable." This mental attitude, or these negative affirmations, neutralize the previous positive affirmation. If a surgeon were operating on you, removing your appendix and came back a few minutes later to see how it's going, and half an hour later rushed back to reopen you, he would probably kill you by poisoning. You kill or prevent your healing by using negative affirmations. There is a subconscious mind within you. You should learn to use it in the same way a man learns to use electricity. Man controls electricity with cables, tubes, bulbs, in addition to his knowledge of the laws of conductivity and insulation, etc. We must learn about the tremendous power and intelligence within us and use it wisely. Many men are beginning to realize the true importance of the subconscious mind in business. Many use it to achieve success and promotion. Edison, Ford, Marconi, Einstein, and many others used the subconscious mind, which gave them the vision and know-how for their great achievements in science, industry, and art. Research has shown that the ability to set the subconscious powers in motion has determined the success of all great scientists and researchers. There is a huge dynamo within you, and you can use it. You can completely free yourself from tension and frustration. You can discover the abundant energy within you that enables you to energize and vitalize all parts of your body. We are told, for example, that Albert Howard said that his most important ideas came when he was relaxed, working in the garden, or walking. The reason for this is that when the conscious mind is relaxed, subjective wisdom emerges. Often flashes of inspiration occur when the conscious mind is completely relaxed. How many times have you wondered at night what the answer to a specific problem was, and when you made that request to the subconscious mind, it gave you the solution in the morning? This is the meaning of the old adage, sleep on it. If you want to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and suggest 7 o'clock to the subconscious mind, it will wake you up at exactly 7 o'clock. A mother may be nursing a sick child and fall asleep, but before falling asleep, she suggests to her subconscious mind that she will wake up if the child's temperature rises, or when he needs medicine, or perhaps when he cries. There may be a storm while the mother sleeps, but the storm does not wake her up. However, when the child cries, she wakes up immediately. This is a simple function of the subconscious mind. Chapter 2. The Subconscious Mind and Health. The subject of mental therapy is currently of great interest worldwide. Man is gradually awakening to the healing powers residing in his subconscious mind. It is well known that all the different schools of healing can accomplish healings of a marvelous nature. The answer to all this is that there is a universal healing principle, the subconscious mind, and a healing process, which is faith. That is why Paracelsus affirmed this great truth. Be it real or false, the object of your faith, you will nevertheless obtain the same effects. It is established that healings have taken place in various sanctuaries worldwide, in Japan, India, Europe, and America. You will find many very different theories, each presenting indisputable evidence of healing. Obviously, for the thinker, there must be a principle underlying all of them, regardless of geographical location or means used. There is only one healing principle, and the process of all healing is faith. The first thing to remember is the dual nature of your mind. The subconscious mind is constantly susceptible to the power of suggestion. Furthermore, the subconscious mind has total control over the functions, conditions, and sensations of your body. I venture to believe that all readers of this book are familiar with the fact that the symptoms of almost any disease can be induced in hypnotized subjects by suggestion. For example, a subject in a hypnotic state can develop a high fever, a flushed face, or chills depending on the nature of the suggestion given by the experimenter. One can suggest to the person that they are paralyzed and cannot walk, and so they will be. Similarly, pain can be induced in any part of the body. By way of illustration, a glass of cold water can be placed under the nose of the hypnotized subject and told, "This is filled with pepper, smell it." The subject will sneeze. What do you think made them sneeze, the water or the suggestion? If a man says he is allergic to Timothy grass, a synthetic flower or any empty vase can be placed in front of that person's nose, in a hypnotic state, and told that it is Timothy grass. They will exhibit the usual allergic symptoms. This indicates that the cause of illness is in the mind. Healing of illness can also occur mentally. We are aware that remarkable healings occur through osteopathy, chiropractic, medicine, and naturopathy, as well as through all the different churches. But we maintain that all these healings occur through the subconscious, the only healer that exists. Observe how it heals a cut on the face caused by shaving. It knows exactly how to do it. The doctor heals the wound. Nature is madness. Nature refers to natural law, the law of the mind, or self-preservation, which is the function of the subconscious. The instinct of self-preservation is the first law of nature. Your strongest instinct is the most powerful of all, autosuggestion. You have just learned that you can induce illness in your own body or in another's by suggestion, defying your natural instincts. It is perfectly natural and obvious that suggestions in harmony with instinctive autosuggestion would have greater power. It is easier to maintain and restore health than to cause disease in the body. The faith that produces healing is a certain mental attitude, a way of thinking, an inner certainty, an expectation of the best in the healing of the body. It is, of course, desirable to ensure concurrent faith of consciousness and subconscious. However, it is not essential if the person enters a state of passivity and receptivity by relaxing the mind and body and entering into a state of drowsiness. I have known people who completely denied matter and their bodies, but nevertheless received wonderful healings. I have known others who said that the world was real, that matter was real, and that their bodies were real, and they also had wonderful healings. The point is that any method, technique, or process you can use to produce a change in the mind or a new mental atmosphere is legitimate, results will follow. Healing is due to a change in mental attitude or a transformation of the mind. Paracelsus said that, whether true or false, the object of your faith, you will nevertheless obtain the same effects. So if you believe in the bones of saints for healing, or if you believe in the healing power of certain waters, you will get results because of the powerful suggestion given to your subconscious mind, which achieves the healing. The wizard with his spells also heals through faith. Any method that moves you from fear and worry to faith and hope will heal you. True and scientific mental healing occurs through the combined function of the conscious and subconscious mind, directed scientifically. The man who denies the ulcer in his hand, although he has one, who even denies his body, and says that everything visible and tangible has no real existence, can obtain healing. All this would be absurd to you. The question arises as to how man obtains healing when he protests against such assertions by claiming that they insult his intelligence. The reason is very obvious when one knows the operation of the subconscious. The man is asked to relax his mind and body, to enter into a quiet, passive, and receptive state. Then the objective senses are partially suspended, and in this drowsy state the subconscious mind is receptive to suggestion. The practitioner then suggests wonderful words of perfect health that penetrate his subconscious mind. The client feels immense relief and perhaps complete healing. The practitioner is not affected by the patient's antagonistic self-suggestions resulting from objective doubt about the healer's power or the correctness of the theory. In the drowsy state of the conscious mind, resistance is reduced to a minimum so that results follow. Many assert that because their theory produces results, it is therefore correct. As explained in this chapter, this cannot be true. You know that there are all kinds of healings. Mesmer and others healed by claiming that they sent a certain magnetic fluid. Other men came and said that all this was nonsense, that healing was due to suggestion. All these groups, such as psychiatrists, psychologists, osteopaths, chiropractors, doctors, and all churches, use the single universal healing power residing in the subconscious. Each can proclaim that healings are due to their theory. The process of all healing is a defined and positive mental attitude, an inner certainty or a way of thinking called faith. Healing is due to a confident expectation acting as a powerful suggestion to the subconscious mind, releasing its healing power. One man does not heal with a power different from that of another. It is true that you can have your own theory and method. There is only one healing process. It is faith. There is only one healing power, namely, your subconscious. Choose the theory and method you prefer. You can be sure that if you have faith, you will get results. In an article in the Los Angeles Examiner some time ago, John McDowell described ongoing trials of prayer therapy at the University of Redlands under the headline, Psychosomatic Trials Proving the Power of Prayer. He writes as follows. Dr. William R. Parker, 37, director of the clinic, revealed today for the first time that the initial results of prayer therapy on a group of 20 tubercular arthritic patients with ulcers and speech problems were favorable. These patients, who agreed to practice prayer therapy in addition to the usual group psychological therapy of the university clinic, made more progress than the usual patients of the clinic, said Dr. Parker. For example, a patient suffering from stomach ulcers who only had faith in prayer and group therapy reported that for 3 weeks all symptoms of his illness had disappeared. A professor at the University of Redlands has suffered most of his life from a severe stutter that years of various treatments have failed to correct. Today, he has no trace of speech trouble after 6 months of prayer therapy. Another professor, forced to retire a year ago due to tuberculosis, has returned to his position as a professor, apparently cured. This man's doctor, a tuberculosis specialist, recently gave him a sputum test, said Dr. Parker. The test was negative, and the doctor was sure there had been a mistake. He immediately did another test, which also turned out to be negative. Dr. Parker, a doctor of psychology and not of medicine, emphasizes that prayer therapy is not a charlatan's miracle cure, but a scientific approach to prayer and its effect on the subconscious. Consciousness, in the eyes of the world, a pioneer in psychosomatic medicine, is the source of many afflictions of humanity, such as arthritis, asthma, hay fever, multiple sclerosis, tuberculosis, ulcers, and hypertension. The psychosomatic theory, highly debated by the medical profession, contends that these conditions begin as functional disturbances in the subconscious and evolve into organic diseases that doctors treat by attacking symptoms rather than the cause. Prayer therapy, according to Dr. Parker, is a psychosomatic attempt to address the root causes of these disorders in the subconscious. 4 basic difficulties of personality underlie everything that goes wrong in the subconscious, Dr. Parker said. These are fear, hate, guilt, and inferiority. In the prayer therapy experiments at Redlands, these basic difficulties are first uncovered through a series of standard psychological tests administered to patients participating in the project. Then, patients gather for a 90-minute group session once a week to discuss their issues. During these meetings, each patient receives a sealed envelope containing information about a detrimental aspect of their personality discovered during the tests. Once home, patients open the envelopes, discover a new, undesirable phase of their personality, and address this specific issue in daily prayer until the next group meeting. There is only one duty. Every patient must pray regularly every night before bed. We emphasize prayer at this time because what a person thinks last before going to bed is most likely to penetrate the subconscious, Dr. Parker said. Most patients need to be taught how to pray. Patients in the clinic's prayer therapy learn a positive approach to prayer, emphasizing love and an uplifting conception of God and the universe. Our prayers are not a plea for health, but affirmations of healing of the unhealthy element the patient wants to address, stated so positively and repetitively that they eventually permeate the subconscious and become an integral part of that person. In this way, through prayer, the destructive aspects of the subconscious can be attacked and eventually overcome, thereby eliminating the root causes of their physical ailments. At the Wilshire Evil Theatre, where I speak every Sunday to an enthusiastic audience, we have a period called the healing silence. The first thing I do is ask the audience to relax, unwind, and stop the gears of their minds. The goal is to quiet the doubt of the conscious mind and insert a new idea like health, peace, joy, and abundance into the receptive minds of the listeners. Those who are imbued will give birth to healing or an answer to their prayer. This is the kinetic action of the subconscious mind. Many report excellent results every Sunday in the form of thank you letters. I would like to highlight here some important factors regarding the operation of the subconscious mind. A man once came to see me and asked why when he repeated, "I don't have a headache," the pain didn't go away. The subconscious will not readily accept this contradiction. It only accepts as true or possible what you believe and feel. If you mentally accept the execution of your idea, the subconscious will cooperate to impress it. You must win its cooperation. If you can convince the subconscious that you don't have a headache, the pain will disappear. I suggested this method. Calmly and quietly repeat to yourself, "The headache is disappearing," over and over. Thus you might better sell the idea or conclusion to your deep self called subconscious. He got results. He added, "It will never come back. For years I haven't had migraine attacks that I used to suffer from frequently." He had the belief or expectation that every Tuesday and Saturday morning he would suffer from migraines. This sensation acted as auto-suggestion to his subconscious, prompting it to ensure that he would have a headache at the appointed time. He simply said, "It's Tuesday morning, the boss wants a headache." The negative suggestion was overridden by the preceding contrary suggestion. Here's another example. A very bright woman came to see me a few years ago saying she had psoriasis on her body that would disappear when she applied ointment, but as soon as she stopped applying the ointment, it would reappear. She bore no grudges against anyone, she was very religious, and seemed emotionally well balanced. I found with her that she lived in constant fear of it coming back. In fact, it was a very powerful suggestion to her subconscious, as it responded accordingly to the suggestion and belief. Every time she said, "My skin is perfect," a debate would start in her mind. Something in her would say, "No, your skin is not perfect." The following technique worked wonderfully for her. She started saying for 5 or 10 minutes 3 or 4 times a day, "Now it's getting better." This didn't create a debate in her conscious or subconscious mind. Results followed. The psoriasis gradually disappeared and never returned. I'm sure she stopped suggesting its return, which she feared the most happened to her. Trust your subconscious mind to heal you. It created your body and knows all its processes and functions. It knows much more than your conscious mind about how to heal you and bring you back to perfect balance. The subconscious mind, sometimes called the deep self, knows more about your body than all the wisest men in the world. Never try to coerce or force the mind. We deduce that some people who say, "I am whole, pure, and perfect," don't get results. Of course they do, because they manage to convince themselves. Blind belief and faith will bring results due to the individual's subjective faith. A psychologist friend told me that one of his lungs was infected. X-rays and tests showed the presence of tuberculosis. Every night before sleeping, he quietly affirmed, "Every cell, nerve, tissue, and muscle of my lungs are now whole, pure, and perfect. All my body regains health and harmony." These words aren't exact, but they capture the essence of what he said. In about a month, complete healing occurred. Subsequent X-rays showed perfect healing. He wanted to know his method, so I asked him why he repeated the words before sleeping. Here's his response. "The kinetic action of the subconscious mind continues throughout the sleep period, so give the subconscious mind something good to work on while you sleep." It was a very wise response by suggesting harmony and health. He never mentioned his issue by name. I strongly suggest you stop talking about your pains or giving them a name. The only life sap they draw is your attention and the fear you give them. Just like the psychologist mentioned earlier, become a good mental surgeon. Then your problems will be cut like dead branches from a tree. If you constantly name your pains and symptoms, by the law of your own mind, these imaginations tend to take on a very dreaded form. One technique to impress the subconscious mind is as follows. Essentially, it involves inducing the subconscious mind to take up your request as transmitted by the conscious mind. This transfer is best done in a state of reverie. Know that there is infinite intelligence and infinite power in your deep mind. Think calmly about what you want. Watch as it unfolds from that moment. Be like the little girl who had a bad cold and a sore throat. She firmly and repeatedly declared, "It's already passing, it's already passing." It passed in an hour. Use this technique with total simplicity and innocence, using the subconscious mind. You involve no adversary. You don't use willpower. You use imagination, not will. Imagine the end and the state of freedom. You'll see your intellect trying to intervene, but persist in maintaining a simple, childlike, miraculous faith. Imagine yourself without the illness or problem. Imagine the emotions associated with the freedom you desire. Eliminate all the bureaucracy of the process. The simplest is always the best. Remember that your body has an organic mechanism that reflects the interaction between the conscious and subconscious mind, i.e., the voluntary cerebrospinal nervous system and the involuntary nervous system. These two systems can work separately or in sync. The vagus nerve connects the two systems in the body. When studying the cellular system and the structure of organs, such as the eyes, ears, heart, liver, bladder, etc., it is discovered that they are composed of groups of cells that possess group intelligence. These cells work together and are capable of receiving orders and executing them deductively, at the suggestion of the mastermind, the conscious mind. That's why the group intelligence of the lungs responded to the constructive and positive suggestions of the psychologists mentioned earlier in this chapter of this book. Our goal is to unveil the workings of the mind to better understand its modus operandi. In a state of relaxation, the subjective mind emerges and begins working on the correct patterns suggested by the healer. The kinetic action of the mind comes into play via the vagus nerve between sleep and wakefulness. The mind frees itself from its material shackles and the limits of time and space and asserts its innate freedom. Dr. Evans, a student of Quimby, was able to suspend the conscious mind and, through assisted inner illumination, without loss of awareness of the external environment, diagnose diseases. Clairvoyance is one of the powers of the subconscious mind that allowed Quimby, Dr. Evans, and many others to clearly see the internal structure of man, the nature and extent of disease, and the cause that provoked it. This has proved very helpful in healing their patients. Explaining the mental and emotional cause of their ailments was the solution in most cases. The usual process is as follows. 1. Examine the problem. 2. Then move on to the solution or outlet, known only to the subconscious mind. 3. Rest in a feeling of deep conviction that it is done. Don't diminish your treatment by saying, "I hope so," or "it will get better." The cellular configuration of your body will faithfully and honestly follow any plan handed to it by the conscious mind through the subconscious, sometimes called the subjective or involuntary mind. Your feeling about the work to be done is the boss. Know that health is yours, harmony is yours. Become intelligent, by becoming a vehicle for the infinite and healing power of the subconscious mind. The reasons for failure are lack of confidence and too much effort. Suggest to the subconscious mind, until conviction, then relax. Get rid of conditions and circumstances. This too shall pass. Through relaxation you impress the subconscious mind, allowing the kinetic energy behind the idea to take control and bring it to concrete fruition. A careful study of the unicellular organism shows us what happens in our complex body, although the unicellular organism lacks organs. The human body represents the operation of his inner mind. Our true powers lie in the subconscious mind. No one knows all the workings of the subconscious mind, for its scope is infinite. We learn what we can about its workings and use it accordingly. People say there is an intelligence that will take care of the body if we let it be. That's true, but the difficulty lies in the fact that the conscious mind always interferes with its evidence of the five senses based on external appearances, leading to the back and forth of false beliefs, fears, and purely subjective opinions. When fear, false beliefs, and negative patterns are recorded in the subconscious mind through psychological and emotional conditioning, there is no other path open to the subconscious mind than to act according to the specifications of the plan presented to it. The subjective self in you continuously works for the general good, reflecting an innate principle of harmony behind all things. Study the works of Edison, Carver, Einstein, and many others who, with little external education, knew how to harness the subconscious mind to obtain their multiple treasures. Have a reason to believe in yourself. You can't go very far if you don't believe in what you don't see. I don't see love, but I feel it. I don't see beauty, but I see it manifested. Subjective faith is often greater in the frail body of a poet in love with verses than in the stronger body of a boxer. Our greatest flaw is the lack of confidence in the powers of the subconscious mind. Familiarize yourself with your inner powers. What good is it to know that you are perfect in principle if you can't bring it forth? Self-realization, along with feeling, is the only key to healing. Getting results doesn't prove that your method is scientific or solid. I knew a man who was told that by waving a rabbit's foot around his head 7 times, a big wart would fall off. He believed it, and the result followed. The rabbit's foot had nothing to do with it. It was due to a mental law. Mental acceptance and belief were the causes, and the disappearance of the wart was the effect. If you are tense and anxious, the subconscious mind won't pay attention to you in a difficult situation. One day, the owner of a house complained to a mechanic for charging him $200 to fix the boiler. The mechanic said, "I charged 5 cents for the missing screw and $119.95 for knowing what was wrong." Similarly, your subconscious mind is the master mechanic, the omniscient one who knows the ways and means to heal any organ of your body, just as it knows your affairs. Decree health, and the subconscious mind will establish it. But relaxation is the key. Don't worry about the details and means, but know the end result. Have the feeling of the happy solution to your problem, whether it's health, financial, professional, etc. Remember how you felt after recovering from a serious illness. Note that feeling is the touchstone of any subconscious demonstration. Your new idea must be felt subjectively, in a completed state, not in the future, but as happening now. One of our students who attended our lectures on the miracles of the mind had eye problems that the doctor said required surgery. He was taught to use the technique from the Nancy School. Take a short, easily memorizable phrase or affirmation and repeat it over and over like a lullaby every night. This man, as he went to sleep, entered a drowsy and meditative state, a state akin to dreaming. His attention was arrested, and he focused on his ophthalmologist. He imagined the doctor standing in front of him and clearly heard, or imagined hearing, the doctor saying to him, "A miracle has happened." He heard it again and again, every night, for about 5 minutes before falling asleep. After 3 weeks, he went back to the ophthalmologist, who had examined his eyes previously, and he said, "It's a miracle, what happened?" He had impressed his subconscious by using the doctor as an instrument or means to convince or transmit the idea through repetition, faith, and expectation. He had impressed the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind had made the eyes. Within him was the perfect pattern, and it immediately set about healing the eyes. This is another example of the miracles of your mind. Chapter 3. The Subconscious Mind and Alcoholism. The alcoholic is mentally ill and needs a mental overhaul. The problem drinker, whether impulsive or habitual, does not drink normally. The problem drinker is the chronic alcoholic, drinking for days, weeks, and even months on end. The alcoholic claims to be periodically driven by a passion to drink, being a victim of habit, as the acts leading to intoxication have been repeated so often that they have established a subjective pattern in his subconscious mind. As the alcoholic has already yielded to his desire, he fears yielding once more, contributing to his repeated falls due to suggestions given to his subconscious mind. It is his imagination that drives the alcoholic to drink intermittently. The images recorded in his subconscious mind begin to bear fruit. He imagines a binge where glasses are filled and emptied. Then he imagines the next sensation of ease and pleasure, a feeling of relaxation. If he lets his imagination wander, he will head to the bar or buy a bottle. The drinker uses effort and willpower to overcome the habit or cause, as he calls it. The more effort or willpower he uses, the more inevitably he finds himself caught in quicksand. Effort is invariably self-destructive. The reason is obvious. The suggestion of powerlessness to overcome the habit dominates his mind. The subconscious mind is always controlled by the dominant idea. The subconscious mind will accept the stronger of two contradictory propositions. The effortless path is the best. The first drink sets the alcoholic in motion due to a subconscious tendency or impulse established through habit. There is a law of inverse effort explained by the French School of Therapeutics in 1910, meaning that when desire and imagination are in conflict, imagination invariably wins out. For example, an alcoholic will often say, "I've tried a lot, I've made great efforts, I've used all the willpower I had," etc. He must be made to understand that this is his mistake. Then he begins to overcome the habit. If, for example, you were asked to walk on a plank on the ground, you would do it without hesitation. Now suppose the same plank is placed 20 feet high between two walls. You wouldn't walk it. Your desire to walk would be thwarted by your imagination, the fear of falling. The dominant idea would prevail over your will or effort to walk, and the dominant idea of failure would be reinforced. If a man says, "I want to quit drinking, but I can't," he may want to quit, but the more he tries, the less capable he becomes. Never try to force the subconscious mind to accept your idea using willpower. Such efforts are doomed to fail. The subconscious mind accepts the dominant of two contradictory affirmations. It's like the poor man who says, "I am rich." In most cases, his affirmation makes him poorer. The simple reason for this is that his belief in poverty is much stronger than his belief in abundance, thus suggesting more lack to himself with each affirmation. This illustrates the law of inverse effort. In other words, the opposite result of what is sought occurs when using the subconscious to heal alcoholism. You must get its cooperation. The subconscious mind will accept your feeling, belief, or conviction. The alcoholic avoids the conflict that arises in his mind by using the sleep technique. By entering a state of drowsiness and dreaming, effort is minimized. The conscious mind is largely submerged when drowsy. The best time to impress the subconscious mind, as emphasized by the French school in 1910, is before sleep. The reason for this is that the greatest degree of emergence of the subconscious occurs just before sleep and just after waking. In this state, negative thoughts that tend to neutralize your desire and thus prevent acceptance by the subconscious no longer arise. Here is a simple method that a chronic alcoholic used for 40 years. I wrote it for him. Assume a comfortable position, relax your body and remain still. Enter into a state of drowsiness, and in this state, whisper softly over and over, like a lullaby. I am completely free from this habit. Sobriety and peace of mind reign supreme. Repeat this slowly, silently, and lovingly for 5 to 10 minutes every night and every morning. After 3 weeks, he had lost all desire to drink. Each time he repeated the above affirmation, its emotional value increased. When cravings came, he repeated the formula aloud. Thus, He induced the subconscious to accept his idea, and healing occurred. I remember treating an alcoholic in Rochester, New York a few years ago. He told me he had gone 6 months without drinking and congratulated himself. All my friends were patting me on the back, telling me what wonderful willpower I had. Then an uncontrollable urge seized me and I was drunk for 2 weeks. This happened to him over and over again. The effort of his will temporarily suppressed his desire, but his continued efforts to suppress it made things worse. His repeated failures convinced him that he was useless and powerless to control his impulse or obsession. This idea of being powerless, of course, operated as a powerful suggestion to his subconscious, increasing his powerlessness and ruining his life. I taught him to harmonize the function of his conscious and subconscious minds. When they cooperate, the idea or desire is realized. His rational mind admitted that if he had been negatively conditioned, he could also be positively conditioned. He gave up the idea that he was powerless to overcome the habit. Furthermore, he clearly understood that there was no obstacle to his healing other than his own thought. Therefore, there is no reason for great mental effort or mental coercion. Using force assumes there is opposition. When the mind is concentrated on ways to overcome a problem, it ceases to worry about the obstacle. This man used to relax his body by entering a state of drowsiness and meditation. Then he filled his mind with the image of the desired result, knowing that his subconscious would realize it in the easiest way. He imagined his daughter congratulating him. "Dad, it's wonderful to have you home." He had lost his family because of alcohol. They were not allowed to visit him. His wife didn't speak to him regularly. He would sit systematically and meditate as instructed. When his attention drifted, he would return to the image of his daughter, with her smile, her tonal qualities, and the scene of his own home. All of this was a reconditioning of his mind. It was a gradual process, but he persevered, knowing that he would eventually impress his subconscious with the mental image. I told him that his conscious mind was the chamber, and his subconscious the sensitive plate on which he recorded and printed the image. This made a deep impression on him. His goal was to impress the image and reveal it in his mind. His film develops in darkness. In the same way, his mental image is revealed in the dark room of his subconscious. By realizing that his conscious mind was the chamber, he made no effort. There was no mental struggle. He quietly adjusted his thought and focused all his attention on the scene before him. He was absorbed in its reality, like a sponge absorbing water. It's a kind of mental absorption by which you completely identify with the image. Sometimes you are so absorbed in reading a newspaper article that you can't hear a loved one speaking to you. He entered into this mental atmosphere, repeated it frequently, and knew that healing would occur. When tempted to drink, he knew it was his imagination bringing him back to drunkenness. He would then disconnect from that scene, cut the film, so to speak, and see his daughter, feel her embrace, and hear her voice. The secret of his success lay in his confidence to experiment with the image he was developing in his mind. You are a ship, and thought is your rudder. Change the direction of the rudder, your thought, and you will change the direction of your ship. Familiarize yourself now with this infinite deposit of strength and healing power that is within you and is the subconscious mind. If you are an alcoholic, admit it. Don't avoid the subject. Many people remain alcoholics because they refuse to admit it. Your disease is instability, inner fear. You refuse to face life, which is why you try to escape your responsibilities through the bottle. What's interesting about an alcoholic is that he has no free will. He believes he does. He boasts of his will. The regular drinker bravely says, "I won't touch it anymore," but he doesn't have the power to support it because he doesn't know where to find it. The alcoholic lives in a psychological prison he has created himself and is bound by his beliefs, opinions, upbringing, and environmental influences. Like most people, meaning a creature of habit, he is conditioned to react as the alcoholic does. He must build the idea of freedom and peace in his mentality for it to reach his subconscious. This, being all-powerful, will free him from any desire for alcohol. Thus, the alcoholic who has a new understanding of how his mind works can actually support his affirmations and prove it to himself. His subconscious is conditioned by his beliefs and habits. If the alcoholic has a strong desire to free himself from the habit, he is already 51% cured. When he has a greater desire to abandon it than to continue it, he will not have too much difficulty in obtaining complete freedom. The alcoholic must recondition his mind. There are ways and methods to do so. When you think of good, good follows you. When you think of evil, evil follows you. These are simple examples of the laws of the mind. If a man lives and meditates in sadness, he will encounter sadness and melancholy in his outer experience. If he thinks of peace and good fortune in his affairs, they will thrive. Understanding the possibilities of such laws of the mind is being invaded by a new inspiration and faith. The alcoholic learns that any thought on which he anchors his mind magnifies. If the alcoholic anchors his mind in the concept of freedom, liberation from the habit and peace of mind, and if he remains focused in this new direction of his attention, he generates feelings and emotions that gradually emotionalize the concept of freedom and peace. Any emotionalized idea is accepted by the subconscious and implemented. The alcoholic must realize that something good can come out of his suffering. He has not suffered in vain. However, it is useless to continue suffering. Continuing as an alcoholic only brings deterioration and mental and physical decay. Start saying no to the impulse. Realize now that the power of your subconscious supports you. Even if melancholy and tremors invade you, begin to imagine the joy and freedom that await you. This is the law of substitution. Your thought controls you whether you know it or not. Now you are fully aware that your subconscious unquestioningly accepts the thoughts you impress upon it. You can now begin to control your life. Disciplining the mind means thinking constructively and harmoniously. One day I read an article about Goethe, who used to have imaginary mental conversations with his friends. For example, he would remain still and silent, imagining that one of his friends responded to him with characteristic gestures and tone of voice. He resolved many of his problems this way. You can do it too. Many have asked me for the reason or cause of their excessive alcohol consumption. There are, of course, many reasons. A man may be angry with his wife, his job, or his boss. Perhaps he is jealous or has an inferiority or rejection complex. I discovered in treating alcoholics that there is almost always a deep unconscious feeling of guilt. I now think of a married man with 4 children who was maintaining and living secretly with another woman during his business trips. He was sick, nervous, irritable, cranky, and couldn't sleep without medication. He had pains in many organs of the body that doctors could not diagnose. When I saw him, he was a confirmed alcoholic. The reason for his periodic binges was a deep, unconscious feeling of guilt. He had violated the old code, and it bothered him. The religious creed in which he had been brought up was deeply rooted in his subconscious. He drank excessively to heal the wound of guilt. Some take morphine and codeine for intense pain. He took alcohol for the pain or wound of the mind. It's the old story of pouring oil on the fire. He heard the explanation of how his mind works. He confronted his problem, analyzed it, and gave up his double role. He knew that his way of drinking was an unconscious attempt at escape. The hidden cause lodged in the subconscious had to be eradicated, and then healing would come. When he began to look at his problem in the light of reason, it dissipated. He began using this treatment 3 or 4 times a day. My mind is filled with peace, assurance, balance, and harmony. Infinite power rests smiling within me. I am afraid of nothing, neither of the past, nor of the present, nor of the future. Infinite intelligence guides and directs me in all ways. Now I face every situation with faith, assurance, calmness, and confidence. Now I am completely free from the habit. My mind is filled with inner peace, freedom, and joy. I forgive myself, then I am forgiven. Peace, sobriety, and confidence reign supreme in my mind. He repeated this frequently, knowing what he was doing and why. Knowing what he was doing gave him the necessary faith and confidence. I explained to him that by saying these affirmations aloud, slowly, with love and feeling, they would slowly sink into his subconscious like seeds and grow according to their kind. I explained to him that his subconscious was like a garden, and by planting beautiful seeds he would reap a wonderful harvest. The nature of an apple seed is to give birth to an apple tree. These truths upon which he would focus would enter through his eyes, through his ears. The healing vibration of these words would reach his subconscious and erase all negative mental patterns causing all the problems. Light dispels darkness. Positive thought destroys the negative. In a month, he transformed. Of course, as you know, people will give all kinds of excuses to explain why they drink. They may attribute their drinking to a tragedy at home, a crisis in their life, lack of money or education. The real reason is negative thinking that has caused emotional imbalance. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. The word heart is an ancient word, meaning the subconscious. In simple terms, it says that as you think and feel, you are in all departments of your life. Emerson said, "A man is what he thinks all day." That's the answer and the whole story. The cause is within you, in your habitual thinking, your mental attitude, and your reaction to life. The alcoholic is actually seeking to escape from a sense of bondage or subconscious restriction. In other words, the alcoholic lacks confidence and assurance. Once, I told a woman to stop giving money to her son because he spent it all on drink. I told her she was only contributing to his delinquency. She replied, "He kneels down, kisses the Bible, and swears never to touch a drop again." I believe him, and I give him money. He seems so repentant, so contrite, and so full of self-condemnation for the way he acts that I think he means it seriously. I explained to her that her son's vain declarations had no meaning, and under no concept she should give him more money. I spent time with her explaining that the boy had no free will, but only boasted of his will to stop drinking. His statements and oaths not to touch it again were vain because he had no power to support them. In other words, he didn't know where the power was or how to locate it. She brought him to see me reluctantly, making the usual statement that he was not an alcoholic. I told her to stop talking nonsense, to admit it openly, and not to avoid it. This is the first step to healing. Many continue to be alcoholics because they refuse to admit that they are. This boy condemned himself by saying, "I guess I'm worthless." Alcohol took him into a world of temporary illusion where, in his morbid imagination, he was king for a day. This gave him a false sense of confidence and a temporary feeling of self-sufficiency. He admitted that if he took a drink, he lost all control and drank until he passed out. The reason is obvious. His mental control was overridden due to a subconscious pattern recorded in his mind for a long time. It's like a track on which the train moves. He had established in his mind a mental track where images of binges, full glasses, images associated with the sensation of pleasure and success ran. By the time this confirmed drinker took one drink, he was compelled to take another. This young man said what all alcoholics say, "If I don't take the first drink, I'm fine, but as soon as I take the first one, I lose control." The reason is that the first drink triggers an emergence of the subconscious mind, which, in the case of the alcoholic, due to prolonged habit and conditioning, tells him, "Take another, drink another." Their subconscious belief and fear are their governor and control their behavior and actions. Man is limited by his beliefs, opinions, education, and environmental influences. He is conditioned to react as he does. Life always seeks to express itself through man. The desire for a true place of mental peace, abundance, and security is a cosmic impulse. In every man exists a law of the mind which, once understood, enables man to realize his dearest desires. The cause of all the confusion, struggles, and problems of the world is man's inability to realize the desires of his heart. Show man the powers of his own subconscious mind. Tell him that if he imagines the end, feels it subjectively, and remains true to his ideal, the subconscious will make it real. People who try to repress desire actually have an unconscious impulse towards self-destruction or self-forgetfulness. When man begins to believe in a power greater than himself, lodged in his own unconscious depths, he is on the way to health, happiness, and mental peace. The following technique is nothing new. It is as old as man. The oldest wisdom available said, "As a man imagines and feels, so is he." The first step, remain still, calm the wheels of the mind, enter into a state of drowsiness and reverie. In this relaxed, peaceful, and receptive state, you prepare yourself for the second step. The second step, take a short phrase that can be easily memorized and repeat it. Mental peace is mine now, and I am grateful. To prevent the mind from wandering, repeat it aloud or silently pronounce it with your lips and tongue while saying it mentally. This helps it to enter the subconscious. Do this for 5 minutes or more. You will find a deep emotional response from the subconscious. The third step, just before sleeping, practice what Goethe used to do. Imagine a friend or loved one in front of you. You have your eyes closed, you are relaxed and at peace. The loved one is subjectively present and tells you, "Congratulations." You see the smile, you hear the voice, you touch the hand and the face. Everything is so real and alive. The word congratulations implies total freedom. Listen to it again and again until you get the response that satisfies you. The previous technique is a solid psychological procedure and is an excellent way to convey an idea to the subconscious mind. You know that you will go where your vision is. The wishful thinker is a man who does not believe in the possibility of realizing his idea or desires. He is the daydreamer. The scientific thinker imagines the end, victory, sees the realization and success, and keeps his faith at every step of the way, knowing that having imagined and felt the end, he has willed the means to achieve the end. When fear knocks at your door, when doubt, worry, and anxiety cross your mind, contemplate your vision. Have confidence in it, believe in it, and a mighty power will be generated by your subconscious, giving you total confidence and strength. Continue until dawn breaks and the shadows flee. Chapter 4. The Wealth of the Subconscious Mind. The problem with most people is that they have no invisible means of support. When business goes bad, the stock market falls, or they lose their investments, they seem helpless. The reason for such insecurity is that they do not know how to use the subconscious mind. They do not know the inexhaustible treasure they have within them. A man with a poor type of mind finds himself in poverty. Another man with a mind filled with ideas of wealth is surrounded by all he needs and more. It was never intended that man lead a life of misery. You can be rich, have all you need and more. Your words have the power to cleanse your mind of false ideas and instill right ideas in their place. I have spoken with many people over the past 35 years. Their usual complaint is, "I've been saying for weeks and months that I am rich, I prosper, and nothing has happened." I found that when they said, "I prosper, I am rich," they inwardly felt they were lying to themselves. One man told me, "I affirmed until I was exhausted that I am prosperous. Now things are worse." When I made the affirmation, I obviously knew it wasn't true. Their affirmations and those of others were rejected by the conscious mind, and all the opposite of what they affirmed and assured manifested. Autosuggestion is most successful when it is specific and does not provoke mental conflict or debate. Thus, the affirmations made by this man made things worse because they suggested his lack. The subconscious accepts only your convictions and beliefs, not just words or affirmations. The following is a way to overcome this conflict for those who have this difficulty. Make this practical affirmation frequently, especially before sleeping day and night. I prosper in all my interests. This will not provoke any discussion as it does not contradict the subconscious mind's financial lack impression. I suggested to a businessman whose sales were very low and who was very worried to sit in his office, be silent, and repeat this affirmation over and over again. My sales improve every day. I advance, I progress, and I enrich myself every day. This affirmation engaged the cooperation of the conscious and subconscious mind. The results followed. The above is a very simple and unique way to impress the subconscious mind with the idea of wealth. Maybe as you read this chapter, you say to yourself, "I need wealth and success." Here's what you need to do. Repeat to yourself for about 5 minutes 3 or 4 times a day, wealth and success. These words have tremendous power. They represent the inner power of the subconscious mind. Anchor your mind in this substantial power within you. Then, conditions and circumstances corresponding to your nature and quality will manifest in your life. You don't say, "I'm successful" or "I'm rich." You dwell in the real powers within you. There is no conflict in the mind when you say wealth or success. Furthermore, the feeling of wealth and success will arise within you when you dwell on these ideas. The feeling of wealth produces wealth, the feeling of success produces success. Keep this in mind at all times. The subconscious mind is like a sort of universal bank. It amplifies everything you deposit or print there, whether good or bad. When you make affirmations like, "There's not enough for everyone," "There's scarcity," "I will lose my home," etc. If you are filled with fear for the future, you are also signing a blank check and attracting negative conditions to you. The subconscious mind takes your fear and belief as your requests and proceeds in its own way to bring obstacles, delays, shortages, and limitations into your life. To him who feels wealthy, more wealth will be added. To him who feels lack, more lack will be added. The subconscious mind also grants you compound interest every morning. Upon waking, deposit thoughts of prosperity, success, wealth, and peace. Dwell on these concepts. Occupy your mind with them as often as possible. These positive thoughts will find their way like deposits into your subconscious mind and bring abundance and prosperity. I can hear you say, "Oh, I've done that and nothing happened." You didn't get results because you indulged in thoughts of fear. Perhaps 10 minutes later, you neutralized what was good in your affirmations. When you plant a seed in the ground, do not dig it up. Suppose, for example, you were about to say, "I won't be able to make this payment." Stop before going further. Don't say, "I won't be able to." Stop the sentence and focus on a positive and constructive affirmation like, "Day and night I prosper in all my ways." To prosper means to advance in all respects in wisdom, understanding, and material possessions. Money represents wealth. It is a symbol of exchange. It represents freedom, opulence, luxury, and refinement. I don't know anyone who says they have too much. Most people feel that the value of their money depends on the amount of gold in South Africa or in the vaults of the US Treasury. Others live in fear that currency will devalue and they will lose. One should not believe the story that the only way to become rich or successful is through toil and hard work. That is not how effortless living is best. Do what you love to do and do it for the joy and excitement of doing it. Sing at work, you will if you love it. Furthermore, if you love your work, you are destined for success. An executive I know earns a salary of $6,000 a year. Last year, he spent 10 months cruising the world and its beauties. He convinced his subconscious mind that he was worth that much money. He told me that many men in his organization who earned less than $100 a week knew more about business than him and could manage it better, but they had no ambition or ideas. Money is simply a subconscious belief of the individual. You won't become a millionaire by saying, "I'm a millionaire." You will grow into a consciousness of wealth by building in your mind ideas of wealth and success. One of our students, who was previously a salesman earning $775 a week, is now a sales manager earning $12,000 a year. All of this happened in 1 month. Every morning, while shaving, he would look at himself in the mirror and say, "You are rich, you are highly successful." In 8 weeks, he was promoted above 80 other salesmen. While you shave, you are relaxed. As previously indicated, an idea can be transmitted to the subconscious mind by repeating it over and over at regular intervals with faith and joyful anticipation. Here's a question frequently asked in our many enthusiastic classes held at the Wilshire Evil Theatre. If I need a certain sum, for example, $1,000, should I focus solely on that and would it work? However, the general and better procedure is not to think of money in terms of a specific or fixed sum. Think of it in terms of abundance to easily and perfectly maintain your freedom of action. The reason is that everything you print in the subconscious mind always increases and multiplies. Like wheat seeds sown in the earth produce 100-fold from their kind. The subconscious mind works under the law of abundance. Nature is lavish, extravagant, and generous. Increase the esteem you have for yourself. If you bargain with life for a penny a day, the universe will respond accordingly. Many people want more money, but they have a subconscious pattern of $75 a week, so that's what they demonstrate, when they could demonstrate much more. Here's a simple technique to increase your awareness of wealth. Use these affirmations several times a day. I love money. I love it. I use it wisely, constructively, and judiciously. Money constantly circulates in my life. I release it joyfully, and it returns to me multiplied wonderfully. This is good and very good. This will help you adopt the right attitude towards money. Never criticize money by saying it's dishonest gain, it's bad, it's tainted. You cannot attract what you criticize. When you start to think, you will realize that true wealth depends on the circulation of wonderful ideas in your mind, which emerge from subconscious levels. A young detective who wanted more money used the mentioned formula. One morning he woke up with a strong desire to write a story based on one of his experiences. He sat down, ideas flowed freely, his story was accepted. Then he wrote many more and was generously paid for these articles. Wealth came to him as ideas in his own mind. Your mind can also reveal to you a new invention, material for a new book or play. Use your subconscious. A sales manager I knew used to get ideas for his sales promotion campaign by waking up in the morning. He became the president of the company. They had never had a sales manager like him. Your subconscious mind never lacks ideas. It contains an infinite number of ideas ready to flow into your conscious mind and appear as money in your pocket in many ways. This process will continue in your mind, regardless of whether the market is going up or down, or if the pound or the dollar are losing value. Your wealth will never truly depend on bonds, stocks, or money in the bank. These are all necessary and useful symbols, of course. The point I want to emphasize is that if you convince your subconscious mind that wealth belongs to you, and that there is always plenty of money circulating in your life, you will always have it, no matter what form it takes. If you believe that wealth or money depends on your job or working longer hours, you have a limited conception. You are bound by your own beliefs. It's a world of cause and effect. If you worry and fret about money, this state of lack will produce greater lack of money. Your mental attitude is the cause, less money is the effect. There is an emotion that is the cause of lack of money in many people's lives. Most people learn this the hard way. It's envy. For example, if you see a competitor depositing large sums of money in the bank and you have only a small amount to deposit, you feel envy. The way to overcome this emotion is to say to yourself, "Isn't this wonderful? I rejoice in this man's prosperity. I wish him increasing wealth." You know what you're doing. You are impressing upon your subconscious mind the idea of wealth. Harboring envious thoughts is devastating because it places you in a very negative position. Thus, wealth flows from you instead of to you. If you ever feel upset or irritated by someone else's prosperity or great wealth, immediately affirm that you truly wish for him greater prosperity in all possible forms. This will neutralize negative thoughts in his mind and cause a greater measure of wealth to flow to you by the law of your own subconscious mind. Perhaps you know someone who always struggles to make ends meet, seems to have a great struggle with money. Have you heard their conversation? In many cases, their conversation follows this line. They constantly condemn those who have succeeded in life and stand out. Perhaps they say, "Oh, that guy has a trick. He's ruthless. He's a crook." That's why they lack. They condemn what they desire and want. The reason they speak critically of their prosperous associates is because they are envious and covetous of the other's prosperity. The fastest way to make wealth take flight is to criticize and condemn those who have more money than you. Saying that you have never had an opportunity, blaming your parents because they never financially supported you, stop immediately. Learn that the secret of wealth lies in the correct use of your own mind. All the resources of this infinite mind are behind you, seeking to express themselves through you. If only you have a receptive mental attitude. If you are concerned and critical of someone who in your view is making money dishonestly, stop worrying about it. You know that this person is using the law of the mind negatively. The law of the mind takes care of it. Make sure not to criticize it for the reasons mentioned above. If you are facing a financial block, the obstruction is in your own mind. Now you can destroy this mental block. Get on good mental terms with everyone before going to sleep tonight. Among the many techniques we occasionally discuss, repeat the word wealth softly with ease and feeling. Do it again and again like a lullaby. Fall asleep with the sole word wealth. You will be surprised by the results. Wealth should flow to you in avalanches of abundance. This is another example of the miracles of the subconscious mind. Chapter 5. How to apply the subconscious mind to problems. The best time to prevent a divorce is before marriage. Ignorance of the powers within you is the cause of all your marital problems. Learn to attract the right spouse. For example, if you are a girl seeking a husband, don't start telling yourself all the reasons why you can't get married. Instead, tell yourself all the reasons why you can happily be married. Eradicate from your vocabulary the words, "I can't." He who believes he can, can. You know how the subconscious works. You know that whatever you impress upon it, you will experience in your world. Start now to impress your subconscious with the qualities and characteristics you admire in a man. This is a technique. Sit in your armchair in the evening. Close your eyes. Let yourself go. Relax your body. Become very calm, passive, and receptive. Speak to your subconscious and say to it, "Now, I am attracting into my experience a man who is honest, sincere, loyal, kind, faithful, and prosperous. He is peaceful and happy. These qualities are now permeating my subconscious. When I think about them, they become a part of me. I know there is an irresistible law of attraction, and that I am attracting to myself a man according to my subconscious belief. I attract what I feel to be true in my subconscious. In other words, I know that by virtue of the law, I will attract a man according to my feelings, beliefs, and impressions made in my subconscious about the type of man I am seeking. Practice this process of impressing your subconscious. Then, you will have the joy of attracting a man who possesses the qualities and characteristics you have mentally impressed upon yourself. The subconscious intelligence will open a way where you will meet each other according to the irresistible and unchangeable law of your own subconscious mind. Have a keen desire to give the best of yourself in terms of love, devotion, and cooperation. Be receptive to this gift of love that you have offered to your subconscious mind. Marriage between a man and a woman must be an act of love. Honesty, sincerity, kindness, and integrity are forms of love. Each must be perfectly honest and sincere towards the other. There is no true marriage when a man marries a woman for her money, social status, or to flatter his ego, for there is neither sincerity nor honesty. Marriage is not of the heart. When a woman says, "I'm tired of working, I want to get married because I want security," her premise is false. She is not correctly using the laws of the mind. Her security depends on her understanding of the interaction between the conscious and subconscious mind and its application. For example, a woman will never lack wealth or health. The technique described in the respective chapters of this book applies. Her wealth can come to her independently of her husband, father, or any other person. A woman does not depend on her husband for health, peace, joy, inspiration, guidance, love, wealth, security, happiness, or anything in the world. Her security and mental peace come from her knowledge of the inner powers within her and her constant use of the laws of her own mind in a constructive manner. Marriage for money or to get back at someone is of course a farce and a masquerade. A man and a woman must be united subjectively in the sense that real love or a sense of unity prevails. In other words, two hearts united in love, freedom, and respect. Several people have told me, "Oh, we love each other. Why should we bother getting married?" The answer is extraordinarily simple. What we feel and accept as true, subconsciously, always manifests in outer space. So their reasoning is false and insincere. The law of the mind is, as it is within, so it is without. Take the case of a man or woman who made an honest mistake and now finds themselves married to a drug addict. He refuses to work. She has to support him. He is ruthless and cruel. It is true that due to her state of mind, she attracted this man. However, she is not condemned to live in a world of misery caused by her own state of mind or ignorance. If she had used her subconscious correctly, this would not have happened. I am sure that if you fell into the gutter, perhaps slipping on a banana peel, it would be absurd to condemn yourself and stay in the gutter. The evidence would be to get up, get out of the gutter, clean yourself up, and move on. The woman mentioned here packed her things and left that man. She realized that it was an intolerable situation. Certainly, this woman is not condemned to live with this man when their hearts and minds are miles apart. Two people can be tied together with a rope, however, they can be as separate as the poles in thought, feeling, and perspective. Being mentally divorced when your mind and heart are elsewhere, staying together in such circumstances, is chaotic from all points of view. Marriage is the union of two hearts. There is no marriage where hearts are not united in love and peace. Adultery occurs first in the heart. The heart is the seat of emotions. If you are resentful, hateful, and critical towards your partner, you have already committed adultery in your heart. Directing your mental and emotional operations through destructive and negative channels is committing adultery. Always remember that adultery takes place in the mind. Bodily acts follow mental states. They do not precede them. Perhaps in reading these pages you say, "I know a young couple who recently got married. They both used the laws of the mind, seemed perfectly happy in every way, but now they are considering divorce." The mental attitude that attracted them and made them love each other must be maintained and reinforced to preserve the marriage. If a disagreement arises or a small argument, and one of the spouses compromises the spirit with a negative idea like resentment or hostility, they join in the error in their mind and are destructive to marital happiness. Small disputes and quarrels between spouses do no harm. It is prolonged resentment or bad feeling that causes damage. When harsh words are forgotten and forgiven a few minutes later, no harm is done. It is when the feeling of being hurt persists that the danger lies. If a man begins to brood, to become morose against his wife for things she has done or said, he commits adultery because he is mentally absorbed in bitterness. This state of mind will endanger the marriage unless he forgives and radiates love and goodwill towards his partner. Let the bitter and resentful man swallow his bitter comments. Let him do his best to be considerate, kind, and courteous. He can skillfully avoid differences through practice and mental effort. He can get out of the habit of antagonism. Then, he will be able to get along better not only with his wife but also with his business partners. Assume the harmonious state and finally find peace and harmony. Let's make some observations about the nagging wife. Often, the reason she is nagging is that she is not getting attention. It is often a desire for love and affection. Give it to her. There is also the type of nagging wife who wants to make the man a carbon copy of her own model. This is the fastest way to get rid of a man. The wife and husband must stop being scavengers, always looking for each other's small faults or mistakes. Let each pay attention to and praise the positive and wonderful qualities of the other. A big mistake is discussing marital problems or difficulties with neighbors and relatives. Suppose, for example, a woman tells the neighbor Juan, "He never gives me money, treats my mother horribly, drinks excessively, and is constantly abusive and insulting." Now this woman degrades and belittles her husband in the eyes of all the neighbors and relatives. He no longer seems like the ideal spouse to them. Never talk about your marital problems to anyone except a qualified counselor. Why do many people think negatively of their marriage? Furthermore, by speaking about her husband's faults and thinking about them, she actually creates those states within herself. Who thinks and feels this? It's you. Generally, family members will always give you wrong advice. They often have biases because they do not give impersonally. Any advice you receive that violates the golden rule, which is a cosmic law, is neither good nor correct. It is good to remember that never have two human beings lived under the same roof without temperament clashes, periods of pain and tension. Never show the unhappy side of your marriage to your friends. Keep the arguments to yourself. Do not criticize or condemn your partner. If there are children at home, it is important for the father to praise the mother and highlight her good qualities, as well as the happy aspects of the home. A husband should not try to turn his wife into a second edition of himself. The clumsy attempt to change her in several ways goes against her nature. These attempts are always foolish and often result in the dissolution of the marriage. These attempts to change her destroy her pride and self-esteem, awaken a spirit of annoyance and resentment that is fatal to the marital bond. Adjustments are necessary, of course, but if you honestly look inside your own mind and study your personality and behavior, you will find so many flaws in there to keep you busy for the rest of your life. If you say, "I will mold her into what I want," you are asking for trouble, and the divorce court is looking for trouble for you. You will later learn that there is no one to change but yourself. If you have a marital problem, ask yourself what you want. Then realize that you can achieve that goal. You will solve your marital problem the same way you solve any other problem. Clearly define what you want, then realize that what the mind conceives, it creates. A woman once told me that after 30 years, her husband began drinking excessively, neglecting his home and children. She began to claim peace and harmony in her home and heart. She paid no attention to circumstances or conditions. She calmly focused on her goal, knowing that her subconscious would produce and magnify what she focused on. Harmony and peace were restored after a few months of devotion to her true goal. This is an example of the miracles of the subconscious mind. By harboring resentment and struggling against the situation, this woman would have only made things worse. If fights and disputes exist at home, turn your attention away from personalities, environments, and conditions, and focus on the marriage. If both are sincere, what will happen in such cases? It's a mental tug of war. It's a house divided against itself that will dissolve sooner or later. However, your mental attitude can prolong the situation. The right and correct way to solve this marital problem is to elevate thought above personalities and conditions, and to start directing your thought towards your true desire, trusting the infinite intelligence within you to achieve the perfect solution through the correct application of the law of your subconscious mind. You can bring harmony where there is discord and resurrect peace where there is confusion. Furthermore, the correct application of your subconscious mind can dissolve a bad marriage. Do not let foolish pride, anger, and desire for revenge lead you to the divorce court when all the time your heart is united with the husband you left. Let love, goodwill, and kindness bring you back to the person you love in your heart. You can heal any problem through the correct application and direction of your subconscious mind. Listen to the intuition or guidance that comes from the subjective wisdom within you. Perhaps this could have prevented you from entering into the current marriage if you didn't know how to use it. Now, if you've had a bad start, you can now adjust it. The procedures and techniques described in this chapter, by exalting and elevating your partner in your thoughts and feelings, and always appreciating the beautiful qualities that united you, can make your marriage a beautiful experience and joy forever. Chapter 6. The Subconscious Mind and Guidance. In explaining the operation of the subconscious mind in our recent university class, one of the men present shared that the solution to his problem came to him while he was shaving. The reason was that at that moment he was relaxed, so the wisdom and intuition of the subconscious mind emerged. This man had intensely and consciously applied his solution for several days, following the following instructions. He got results. Before going to bed at night, he would say, "I now hand this request over to my deepest mind. I know it has the answer, and I will receive it." As we mentioned in the first chapter, the subconscious mind will wake you up at 6 in the morning because you are thinking at 6 in the morning before going to sleep. Similarly, the subconscious mind took his case. Having superior wisdom, it logically deduced the perfect answer and provided it. Often you will notice that just after waking up, the answer will come to you because you are still half asleep and half awake. And that's when the wisdom of the subconscious mind emerges. When overwhelmed by a problem, what do many people do? They worry and torment themselves about the problem, which only makes things worse because the subconscious mind always amplifies what we imprint on it. Many compare the subconscious mind to a bank. You are constantly making deposits into this universal bank. Make sure to deposit seeds of peace, harmony, faith, and willpower. These seeds will be magnified 1,000-fold, and then prosperity and good fortune will be your harvest. How do you react to the problems of the day and your environment? If you react with anger, bitterness, criticism, and resentment, you are making these deposits in the bank within you. When you need strength, faith, and confidence, you cannot withdraw them because you have not deposited them in your bank. Start now to deposit joy, love, peace, and good humor into your mind. Then, the subconscious bank will give you compound interest, magnifying your dreams beyond your wildest fantasies. When you have to make a decision that you consider difficult, or when you do not see the solution to your problem, Start thinking about it constructively immediately. If you are fearful and worried, you are not truly thinking. True thinking is contemplating all things that are true, just, beautiful, and of good report. True thinking is free from fear. The real reason you are afraid is that you have a false idea or hold an erroneous view of things. You probably believe that things, conditions, and external circumstances control you and are causes. Remember that you have control over your environment and conditions. Here is a simple technique you can follow. Calm the mind, relax the body. Tell the body to relax. It must obey you because it has no will, initiative, or intelligence of its own. It is an emotional disk that records your beliefs and impressions. Still your attention, center your thoughts on the solution to your problem. Try to solve it with your conscious mind. Think how happy you would be with the perfect solution. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to that drowsy state and whisper softly and positively, "The answer is mine. Now, I know my subconscious mind knows the answer. Now, live in the state of mind or feeling of the solution. Perceive the feeling you would have if the perfect answer were yours, then let your mind play with this state of mind in a relaxed way, and then fall asleep. You may fall asleep faster than you anticipated, but you were thinking about the answer. You didn't waste your time. If you wake up without having the answer, occupy yourself with something else. Probably when you are busy with something else, the answer will come to your mind like toast popping out of the toaster. Never think about your problem in this way. Things will only get worse. I will never get the answer. I don't see a solution. It's useless. You are reversing the law and undoing the good work you have done. Thinking about the answer activates the intelligence of the subconscious mind that knows everything, sees everything, and has the know-how to accomplish. The subconscious has the power to create and also obeys the commands given by the conscious mind. Always remember this simple truth. The conscious mind has the power to choose. The subconscious does what it is ordered to do. The latter accepts your beliefs and convictions and brings them into your experience. It is an infinite and creative power. Some time ago, I received a magazine clipping describing how Dr. Banting solved his diabetes problem. He had studied the disease in depth. One night, he woke up early with the answer to extract the substance from the degenerated pancreatic duct of dogs. This is how insulin was discovered and helped millions of people. You don't always get an answer overnight. The answer may take weeks or months. Don't be discouraged. Keep thinking about it every night in the subconscious before sleeping, as if you had never done it before. One reason for the delay may be that you see the problem as major and believe it will take a long time to solve. The subconscious has no time or space. Fall asleep believing you already have the answer and that the solution already belongs to you. Don't put off the answer to the future. Have permanent faith in the outcome. Convince yourself now, as you read this book, that there is a perfect answer and solution for you. Here is a very simple technique used since time immemorial to get an answer from the subconscious. Quietly think about what you want, for example, the answer, the harmonious solution, or the correct decision. The best time to meditate on a request is just before sleeping. Relax the body. Let the gears of your mind suggest sleep. You will start to feel sleepy, but you will remain conscious and able to direct your attention. For example, you might hear a baby crying next door, or someone walking in the house. You are in a state similar to dreaming, between the waking state and sleep. The Nancy Therapeutic School calls this state enchantment. In this drowsy and meditative state, you induce the subconscious to take over your problem or request. This transfer to the subconscious is best achieved by the process mentioned earlier. Don't infer any adversary. Don't use willpower. Imagine the end, the solution, and the state of freedom. Do it with total simplicity and innocence. Have simple, childlike, miraculous faith. Imagine yourself without the problem. Eliminate all the bureaucracy from the process. The simple path is the best. Here's an example. I lost a precious ring. It was an heirloom. I searched everywhere for it and couldn't find it. I decided to practice what I preach. At night, I spoke to the subconscious in the same way I would speak to anyone. Before falling asleep, I would say, "You know everything. You know where this ring is. And now, reveal to me where it is." In the morning, I woke up suddenly with the words echoing in my ear, "Ask Robert." It seemed very strange to ask Robert, but I followed the inner voice of intuition. Robert responded, "Oh yes, I picked it up on the sidewalk in front of the house. It's in my drawer. It didn't seem very valuable, so I didn't say anything about it. The subconscious will always answer you if you trust it. A young man from our recent class had this experience. His father passed on to the other dimension and apparently did not leave a will. However, this man's sister told him that their father had confided in her that he had written a fair will for all. All attempts to vocalize the will had failed during the closed class on the miracles of the subconscious mind. This young man put into practice what he had heard as he prepared to sleep. He said, "Now I hand over this request to the subconscious mind. It knows exactly where this will is. Let it reveal it to me." Then he condensed his request into a single word, repeating this word over and over like a lullaby. He rocked himself with the word, "answer." That night, the student had a very vivid and realistic dream in which he saw the name of a bank in Los Angeles and its address. He went there and found a safe deposit box registered in his father's name, thus solving all his problems. Your thought at bedtime awakens the powerful latent power within you. Suppose, for example, you're wondering whether to sell your house, buy certain stocks, dissolve a partnership, move to New York or stay in Los Angeles, dissolve the current contract or take a new one. Do the following. Sit quietly on your bed or at your desk. Remember that there is a universal law of action and reaction. Action is your thought. Reaction is your subconscious response. The subconscious mind is reactive and reflective. It's its nature to rebound, reward, render, and it's the law of correspondence. It responds in correspondence with the contemplation of the correct action. You will automatically experience a reaction or response within yourself by considering the correct action. At this stage, you have used the infinite intelligence residing in the subconscious until it begins to direct you. From there, your course of action is directed and controlled by the subjective wisdom within you, wise and all-powerful. Your decision will be correct. There will only be correct action, because you are under the subjective compulsion to do what is right. I use the word compulsion because the law of the subconscious is compulsive. Our subconscious beliefs and convictions dictate and control all our conscious actions. The secret of correct guidance or action is to mentally dedicate yourself to the correct answer until you find that answer within you. The answer is a feeling, an inner awareness, an overwhelming intuition through which you know that you know. You have used the power until it begins to direct you. You cannot fail or go wrong as long as you operate under the guidance of the subjective wisdom within you. Think of a garden. Then you will understand the dual aspect of the mind and the subjective law by which the conscious mind operates. Plant the seed in the soil. Decide what kind of seed will be planted. As you know, in the soil will grow what is planted, whether grapes or thorns. Similarly, consider the subconscious as the soil. It contains all the necessary and essential elements for growth. Again, understand that the nature of the soil is to produce, but as you know, it does not care at all what it produces. It doesn't matter if it produces a pear or an apple tree. All the laws of nature would be violated if the soil refused to produce or cultivate poisonous plants. Exactly the same thing happens with the subconscious. It is a creator. It never asks you or answers you. It accepts what you deposit into it and produces it in your experience, whether good or bad. Learn to use your subconscious constructively, wisely, and judiciously. I want to emphasize this important fact. You will always receive guidance regarding the subject you think about most. The subconscious is impersonal and makes no exceptions of persons. If, for example, you begin to think about how to set fire to a certain building without being detected, you will have ideas and thoughts about the malicious and destructive uses of fire. Universal energy or power itself is perfectly harmless. However, you can use it for constructive or destructive purposes. Take atomic energy, for example, which we have heard so much about. It is perfectly harmless. We know very well that the danger of atomic energy lies in the mind of man. He can use atomic energy to heat or light a house, or to destroy thousands of people. You receive guidance based on what you habitually think about. If you think and dwell on fears, problems, and failures, you will be guided in the wrong direction, and you will experience more chaos and confusion. Take this great concept and reflect on it. There is nothing to fear in the whole universe. You have the power to control through wise use of your subconscious. Sit now in silence and think of a beautiful lake atop a mountain. It is a calm and tranquil night. On the surface of the calm and peaceful lake, you see the stars, the moon, and perhaps the nearby trees. If the lake is disturbed, you will not see the stars or the moon in the same way. Relax your mind, relax and let go. Think of peace and tranquility. Then, on the reflective waters of your mind, the answer to your question will manifest. Chapter 7. Overcoming Fear Through the Subconscious. Emerson said, "Do what you fear and the death of fear is certain." There was a time when the author of this chapter was overwhelmed by an unspeakable fear of speaking in public. The way he overcame this fear was by standing before the audience, doing what he feared to do, and the death of fear was assured. When you positively affirm that you will master your fears and make a definite decision in your conscious mind to overcome them, you unleash the power of the subconscious that flows in response to the nature of your thought. One of our students told me he had been invited to speak at a banquet. He said he felt panic at the thought of speaking in front of 100 people. He overcame the fear in this way. For several nights, he would sit in a chair for about 5 minutes and slowly, calmly and positively say to himself, "I will master this fear. Now, I overcome it. I speak with assurance and confidence. I am relaxed and at ease." He applied a defined mental law and overcame his fear. The subconscious is susceptible to suggestion and controlled by suggestion. When you relax your mind and body, the thoughts of your conscious mind seep into your subconscious through a process similar to osmosis, where fluids separated by a porous membrane mix. As these positive seeds or thoughts sink into the subconscious realm, they grow according to their kind, and you become serene and tranquil. A young girl was invited to an audition. She was eagerly anticipating the interview, but she had failed miserably 3 times before due to stage fright. Here is the simple technique I taught her. Remember, this young girl had a very beautiful voice, but she was convinced that when the time to sing came, stage fright would take over. The subconscious takes your fears as a request and manifests them, bringing them into your experience. In the 3 previous auditions, she sang off-key and ended up collapsing. The cause, as mentioned earlier, was involuntary self-suggestion, that is, a silent and subjective thought of fear. She overcame it with the following technique. 3 times a day she secluded herself in a room, sat comfortably in a chair, relaxed her body, closed her eyes, and soothed her mind and body as best she could. Physical inertia promotes mental passivity and makes the mind more receptive to suggestion. She countered the suggestion of fear by telling herself, "I sing wonderfully. I am calm, confident, and serene." She would repeat this affirmation slowly, silently, and convincingly, 5 to 10 times at each session, 3 times a day, and just before sleeping. After a week, she was completely serene and confident, and she gave an extraordinary and wonderful audition. Apply the above process with assurance and conviction, and the death of fear is assured. From time to time, students from the local university and also school teachers come to me, seeming to suffer from suggestive amnesia during exams. The complaint is always the same. "I know the answers once the exam is over, but I can't recall them during the exam." The idea that materializes is always the one to which we invariably pay concentrated attention. Everyone is obsessed with the idea of failure. Fear is behind the temporary amnesia and is the cause of the whole experience. A young medical student was the brightest in his class. However, he found himself answering simple questions incorrectly during written or oral exams. I explained to him that the reason was that he had been worried and fearful for several days before the exam. These constant negative thoughts were imbued with fear. Thoughts wrapped in the powerful emotion of fear are realized in the subconscious. In other words, this young man was asking his subconscious to ensure that he would fail, and that is exactly what happened. On the day of the exam, He was affected by what psychological circles call suggestive amnesia. A French psychologist named Baudin said, "What we must work on to overcome fear is the education of the imagination." Here's how the young man overcame his fear. He learned that his subconscious was the repository of memory and had a perfect record of everything he had heard and read during his medical training. Furthermore, he learned that the subconscious mind was receptive and reciprocal. The way to contact his subconscious was to be relaxed, calm, and confident every night and every morning. He began to imagine his mother congratulating him on his success. He held an imaginary letter from his mother in his hand and read words of congratulations. He also felt the letter in his hand. When he began to contemplate the happy outcome, he elicited a corresponding or reciprocal response within himself. The omniscient and omnipotent power of the subconscious took control, dictating and directing his conscious mind accordingly. He imagined the end result. When he imagined and felt the end, he wanted the means for the achievement of the end. By following this procedure, he had no trouble passing subsequent exams. In other words, subjective wisdom took hold of him and compelled him to present an excellent image of himself. The law of the subconscious mind is compulsion. Many people are afraid of riding in an elevator, climbing mountains, or even swimming. It is very possible that the individual had unpleasant experiences in the water in their youth, such as being forcibly thrown into the water without knowing how to swim. I had an experience at around the age of 10. I accidentally fell into a pool and sank 3 times. I still remember the dark water enveloping my head and my gasping until another child pulled me out at the last moment. This experience sank into my subconscious, and for years I was afraid of water. An elderly psychologist told me to go down to the pool, look at the water, and say out loud and with a strong tone, "I will dominate you. I can dominate you." Then, get into the water, take lessons, and overcome it. That's what I did. I learned that when you do what you fear to do, fear disappears. It was just a shadow in my mind. When I adopted a new mental attitude, the all-powerful power of the subconscious responded by giving me strength, faith, and confidence, allowing me to overcome my fear. I used the subconscious until the point where it began to control me. Here is a process and technique for overcoming fear that I have been teaching from the platform, and it works wonders. Try it out. Suppose you're afraid of water, of a mountain, of an interview, of an audition, or dread enclosed spaces. If you are afraid of swimming, start now to sit quietly for 5 or 10 minutes 3 or 4 times a day and imagine yourself swimming. In reality, you are swimming in your mind. It's a mental, subjective experience. You have mentally projected yourself into the water. You feel the coldness of the water and the movement of your arms and legs. Everything is real, vivid, and a joyful activity of the mind. This is not idle daydreaming, for you know that what you subjectively experience in your imagination will develop in your subconscious. Consequently, you will be compelled to express the image and likeness of the image you have imprinted in your deep mind. This is the law of the subconscious. As you continue to discipline your mind in this manner, you mentally immerse yourself in the water and find happiness in it. Therefore, fear disappears. You will physically enter the water, and you will be compelled to perform well. You have consciously invoked the wonderful power of your subconscious, which is all wisdom and all power. This power controls and governs you according to the nature of your call or request. It is a wonderful thing to know and a wonderful thing to do. The president of a large organization told me that as a salesman, he used to walk around the block 5 or 6 times before calling a client. One day, the sales manager told him, "Don't be afraid of the man behind the door. There is no man behind the door. It's a false belief." The manager told him that every time he faced his own fears, he confronted them head-on and faced them by looking them straight in the eye. So they faded away and diminished into insignificance. Now go out and face what frightens you. If you are afraid to take that position, take it. Tell yourself that I can do it. I will succeed. You will find an emotion or feeling generated by your subconscious that will induce the mindset or feeling of confidence, faith in yourself, and the joy of accomplishment. Fear is a thought in your mind, but confidence is a much more powerful thought. Fill your mind with positive and constructive feelings and drive away fear. A chaplain told me one of his experiences during World War II. He had to parachute from a damaged plane and land in the jungle. He said he was afraid, but he knew there were two types of fear: normal and abnormal. Normal fear is good. It is the law of self-preservation. It is the subconscious telling you to do something. It is a kind of alarm system telling you to get out of the way of an approaching car. The chaplain said, "I started talking to myself, saying, 'Oh, John, you cannot give in to your fear. Your fear is a desire for security, an escape.'" He said he knew there was a subjective intelligence that guided birds to their food and told them where to go in summer and winter. He began to affirm the infinite intelligence that guides the planets in their course, guides and directs me out of this jungle now. He continued to say this out loud to himself for 10 minutes or more, then added something. He began to feel a stirring within him, a state of confidence began to seize him, and he began to walk. After a few days, he miraculously emerged and was picked up by a rescue plane. His change in mental attitude saved him. His confidence in the subjective wisdom and power within him was the solution to his problem. He said, "If I had started to lament my fate and give in to my fears, I would have succumbed to the monster of fear and probably succumbed to fear and starvation." Whenever fear arises, immediately go to its opposite in your mind. Constantly indulging in thoughts of fear and constantly occupying your mind with negative thoughts results in abnormal fear, obsessions, and complexes. Occupying your mind with all the difficulties of your problem will only eventually breed a sense of panic and terror that will weaken and make you sick. You can overcome fear of this nature when you know that the power of your subconscious can always change objective conditions. Go within yourself, claim and feel your well-being. Know that there is an infinite intelligence that responds and reacts to your thought and feeling. Imagine the end, feel the emotion of victory. What you feel and imagine subjectively as true is the internal evidence of what will happen objectively. Your subconscious can set you free. When thoughts of fear come into your mind, contemplate the solution, the happy ending. Never struggle against negative or fearful thoughts. Always light the lamp of love, peace, and self-confidence within yourself. Most of our fears are imaginary. The general manager of an organization told me that he was afraid of losing his job. He always imagined failure. What he feared did not exist, except as a morbid and anxious thought in his own mind. His vivid imagination dramatized the loss of his job until he was nervous and neurotic. Eventually, he lost his job. He was asked to resign, but in reality, he fired himself. His constant negative images and suggestions of fear to his subconscious caused it to respond and react by making him make mistakes and take foolish decisions that led to his failure as a general manager. What this man feared did not exist. His dismissal would never have occurred if he had immediately moved to its opposite in his mind. No constructive or negative thought or concept can ever manifest unless we emotionally charge such concepts. Thoughts, concepts, and ideas must penetrate the subconscious before they can affect us positively or negatively. If you look back on your life, you will agree with the author that most of your fears, worries, and anxieties have never materialized. The reason is that you did not hold on to the general secret to banish fear, which is to constantly fill your mind with constructive and positive thoughts. Fill your mind with thoughts of love, peace, and harmony.